It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. Another brand new episode of the Kicking Out podcast. I'm Tanner Lee, along with my co host Paul Zartman. We'll be recapping AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, which took place tonight from the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Another fun show, Paul. Another hot crowd all night. Nice to get out to the East Coast instead of the southern part of the United States for the first time in a long, long time.
Yeah, it was definitely a hot crowd tonight. They were definitely making sure they were heard, that's for sure. So.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about some of those chants later on in the show. Big announcement tonight for an upcoming live event that we'll talk about. No returns tonight, even though there was a return announced at the end of the show that will be coming up on a future episode of Dynamite to close the show tonight. So still a jam-packed show tonight, a lot of matches, a few backstage segments, but not as many as we've been getting used to.
Right.
But any news you want to talk about before we get into tonight's show?
Well, yeah, my KOP merchandise has arrived.
Looking good.
So, yeah, go get your KOP, your Kicking Out podcast merchandise from Pro Wrestling Tees. Support Tanner and myself in the Kicking Out podcast and look stylish while you do it.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. And also go check out an interview I put up yesterday with Dave Hancock. I had the pleasure of interviewing him. He runs the social media accounts for all the adfreeshows.com's podcast. So Grilling JR, Something Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, My World with Jeff Jarrett, The Kurt Angle Show, The Orange Show, What Happened to Win with Tony Schiavone, 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. He runs the accounts for all of those. So great guy who's also from Northern Indiana, like ourselves, Paul.
Very, very busy man. So I have not had a chance to listen to the interview yet. It's been a pretty busy week for myself, but definitely something that I'll be trying to get watched and listened to over hopefully the weekend.
Yep, you can find an interview on all your favorite podcast platforms, and if that happens to be Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and review, and you can also find the video on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel, so please give those a like, follow, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. With that said, Paul, I'll let you kick the recap off for tonight.
All righty, well, let's get right into it. The show opened with a video package to hype the Hangman, Page, and Dark Order, talking about what a true cowboy is. And then everybody made their way to the ring. Of course, Dark Order and Hangman were all dressed in cowboy gear. If they win, they will receive future title shots against Omega and the Young Bucks. If not, they cannot challenge for the titles again. This is a stipulation that AEW is a big fan of. I'm not too much of a fan of it, but it seems to be working well for AEW, so we'll give them that. Omega and the Young Bucks, the Elite, I should say, make their entrance, done up kind of like a what's it called? The new movie. There we go. I keep wanting to go Toon Squad,
which I watched Space Jam: The New Legacy over the weekend. I don't recommend it. Don't waste your time.
No. I've just seen the previews and I don't recommend it either.
No, it wasn't very good.
So Page and Anderson get things started shortly after a full-out brawl breaks out. And that kind of seemed to be the gist of this match. Every time you turned around, there was a full-out brawl between everybody remaining in the match. Reynolds was the first to be eliminated, which surprised me, but yet it didn't at the same time.
He would have been the one I would have picked out of the group.
Yeah, he had to be the first one to go. Of course, they're trying to make Uno and Grayson look strong, and Johnny was making his return, and Hangman, being number one contender, couldn't be the first one out. The match goes back and forth throughout a lot of it. We get Johnny Hungy chants on and off throughout the match. There was an interesting spot where the Elite dunked Silver, or attempted to make it look like that. And all the trick shots that Nick Jackson does, that was the one he missed.
Yeah. I'm
Ouch.
always nervous when he's on the top rope. He's going to slip, and he didn't slip tonight.
Yeah.
He just missed the dunk. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I caught Matt Jackson having a good chuckle out of that one. So
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting little segment with them. I mean, I give them props for pulling off something like that with doing the whole Space Jam gimmick. They needed something. So that was definitely the spot. Stu Grayson and Gallows both got counted out as they fought into the audience. Lots of back and forth segments still taking place in the ring. Came down to Hangman versus the original Elite of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And Kenny did some great moves. The Young Bucks did some great moves. Hangman fought hard. I got to give Hangman a lot of props. He fought hard, could not pull off the victory, ended up losing, meaning that the Dark Order nor Hangman can challenge for the titles in the future.
correct. Yeah, Hangman did fight hard, like you said. He kicked out multiple big time moves, multiple V triggers, but of course he couldn't kick out of the One Wing Angel. I think it surprised me, this outcome. Honestly, I thought Hangman and the Dark Order was gonna win the match, but the more I think about it, I think it's great storytelling because it'll make the pop even bigger when Hangman does eventually get over and kicks out of that One Wing Angel eventually. Now, my question to you is, do we still see Hangman challenge for the title at All Out, or now will a different contender be up against Kenny?
Well, I think it'll have to be somebody else since they lost. They're not going to I don't think they're going to let Hangman beat this stipulation that quickly. I mean, All Out is quickly approaching, and to say, oh, you can't challenge for the title, and then a month later he's challenging for the title, I think it's a little too quick.
I still think he gets it somehow. Maybe he challenges Omega career versus title, something Omega can't refuse. It's they're going to bring it as the biggest show of the year. So you got to bring it. You can't just throw in a Christian Cage or something. I know he's undefeated. I mean, you've built it. I just don't know where else they go. And if wins matter, you can't throw somebody in there that might be debuting in a few weeks in the company.
Yeah, we won't mention that name right now.
Names.
Well, yeah, names. Backstage, Alex Marvez was set to interview the Death Triangle, but for some reason, at the point in time we didn't know, only Pac was there. Pac says the Lucha Bros are here, but a certain someone canceled their car. In comes Andrade and Chavo. Chavo says Phoenix and Penta are arriving, thanks to them ordering the Lucha Brothers a limo. Andrade tells Pac to order better rides for his guys, or someone will do it for him.
Yeah, I mean, moves on the story a little bit. Didn't really capture my attention.
No.
I don't know. I like Chavo being involved in the company. I'm still not sure about him being the mouthpiece for Andrade, though. He's better than Vicky, but
right. I think he's got some growing to do over the next couple weeks. Get used to having that microphone in front of him again. I think he'll get there. Andrade spoke tonight, and he spoke very well, in my opinion, for someone who doesn't speak very good English. So I give him a lot of props on saying, you know what, I want to try this each and every week. Even if I can't get through all of it, I want to do something at least.
Yep, I agree. He's they're letting him try to speak English. WWE, that was one of his big downfalls in WWE, was Vince didn't think he spoke good enough English.
Right. And that's the case with a lot of the wrestlers over there that might not be from America.
Yeah, the foreign talent.
They get a mouthpiece right off the bat just because we don't know. So here, you're going to have this guy who also is from your country, but he speaks English.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Taz up on a podium to the side of the stage, which made absolutely no sense to me. Why? I don't know. It's Taz. I don't think we'll ever know why he did this. But he announces the new FTW champion, Ricky Starks, for the title celebration. Out comes Starks and Hook, a brass band is playing down by the ring for his celebration. Little off, but
It's a celebration.
yeah, and of course, some of those guys you knew were going to get something at some point tonight, so they're technically extras for the company, so they probably didn't exactly know how to play the instrument. Starks gets on the mic. He's talking about the fact that he's the glue and the anchor of the group this whole time. He could forgive some of the things that Gage has done, but when it came to his neck injury and the fact that Gage never once checked on Stark, he couldn't get over that. Stark says he's becoming the star that Gage has been trying to figure out how to be for the last 17 years. He continues to talk trash until Gage comes out and beats up the brass band, slams a bass drum over a guy's head, and snaps the trombone, with JR throwing some shade at a company, saying, trombones don't have a place in wrestling.
Yeah, which I didn't catch that. You sent me that text. I'm like, oh, yep, that's a little shot to New Day and Xavier Woods right there.
Yep. It shocked me that it was JR of all people to say it.
Yeah, that was probably fed to him.
Yeah.
That one, I presume, was a line fed to him.
And probably by the Bucks or Cody, but definitely not Tony Khan.
I wouldn't think so. And really, the New Day and Xavier Woods in particular, they're on good standing with a lot of the AEW talent. So.
Oh, yeah. So they probably, talked about this, and he said, you know what? Go ahead and make a stab at my trombone, whatever he's calling it these days.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Via video, New Japan Pro Wrestling star Hiroshi Tanahashi, there we go. See, I knew I was going to mess it up at some point. Challenges for the IWGP US Championship against whoever wins later tonight between Archer and Hikuleo.
Yep, Tanahashi's an absolute legend. New Japan. This is the one title he has not captured in his long historic career. Can't wait to see him in AEW. I mean, the Forbidden Door we talk about all the time. It's broken down. This is just another example. So many possibilities, and as we'll talk about later in Moxley's promo, just exciting. Just this partnership with AEW and New Japan just continues to grow. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, and I don't remember where it happened, but it did happen later on in the show. It might have been during Archer's match. They actually mentioned that due to the partnership that AEW has with New Japan, the winner will go to Japan to take him on. So that was a little interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially because of the pandemic. I mean, we're seeing, unfortunately, numbers go up here in the States right now, but Japan's in real bad shape right now. So a lot of their shows are getting canceled over there. So that's an interesting stipulation.
Yep. Next up, it was time for FTR with Tully Blanchard against Pride and Powerful with Konnan.
And this is a match that was revealed the past week or so on Fightful that this match had been scheduled for this exact Dynamite for Fight for the Fallen in Charlotte since at least mid-May. That's how far they planned this out.
Wow, so they definitely are fans of the long-term storytelling.
Yeah, and Fightful also said, of course, they didn't reveal what it is. They said they have a singles feud in place already for the fall. AEW has a particular feud, but they didn't say who was involved.
Probably one of the debuting members.
Could be. Yeah. Could be.
Probably why he hasn't revealed that yet.
Well, and he does a good job at teasing stuff, but still given the element of surprise a lot of times.
Yeah. Back and forth action as the match got started. Cash and Santana throwing big chops in the middle of the ring, which was Charlotte. You got to do the chops in honor of Flair.
It's Flair country.
Yeah. Santana hits the Three Amigos, which got another huge pop from the fan. Ortiz tags in. They hit a facebuster powerbomb combo on Cash. Ortiz works over Cash, tags in Santana again. Lots of back and forth. Santana hits a big flip to the outside on Wheeler. Santana with a diving foot stomp with nobody there rolls through, but Ortiz gets the blind tag. I honestly didn't catch that tag, so I had to go back and look at that because I was like, wrong guy's in the ring, and I kind of looked back real quick. I'm like, oh, okay, I missed that.
These guys were working very hard in this match. They were trying to put on an absolute classic for us.
Yeah, we had a big frog splash on Dax from Santana for a 2 count. Santana with a German suplex. Harwood clocks him with a lariat, but walks into a power bomb. Wheeler with a swinging DDT on Ortiz. Looks for one on Santana, but instead eats a big boot. Santana with a power bomb on Harwood for a 2 count. We see Cash go for the inside cradle, gets a 2 count, and then just punches Ortiz right in the face. I mean, just clear as clear can be. That was a straight punch.
Yeah, gave him a little shoot punch there.
Yeah. Wheeler tags in. They look for a double team move, but Santana breaks it up for a moment. Harwood with a suplex. Ortiz hooks the legs, but no count as both men's shoulders were down. Harwood ends up hitting a sheer drop brainbuster on Ortiz for the cover. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and until they showed the angle of Cash Wheeler and his arm, which was just gruesome, just blood everywhere. I was like, what the heck just happened? That seemed like a rushed finish or a weird finish, and that's exactly what happened. They had to call audible, rush it to the finish, shorten the match up. And in prayers and thoughts up to Cash, hopefully it's not as bad as it looked. I did see a slow-mo replay on Twitter. It didn't look like a compound fracture, so that's good. That's what I was afraid of at first. Maybe the bone came out of the skin and blows everywhere. It looked like just he slipped or fell on a turnbuckle and it just cut him off. I mean, it was a nasty laceration, very deep, will take many stitches, but looks like just sliced his arm.
Okay. And I have to apologize. I just realized that this entire match I was calling Dax Cash. So
I've done that before.
Apologize for that ahead of time. Before anybody else catches on to what I was doing there.
I was listening to you talk the whole time and didn't pick it up. So
it didn't register. I was so focused and I was like, wait a minute.
So hopefully Cash is okay and can come back soon because that was nasty. That was a lot of blood.
Yeah, and I'm glad you found out what happened. I try to stay away from the Twitterverse while I watch Dynamite because otherwise I'll get wrapped up in it and just start scrolling and
that happened to me multiple times tonight. My attention span was everywhere. I was reading stuff on Twitter instead of paying attention to the match. I need to do a better job of that, but lately it's been kind of getting me in. I don't know what's going on.
It's Twitter, man.
There's
something going on there.
Sometimes.
Yep. Backstage, Britt Baker talks with Tony Schiavone about breaking her wrist against Nyla Rose. Despite that, she's still tapped out Rose. Baker says Rebel can't keep her protected all the time when everyone is gunning for her. Baker says they apparently need someone to watch their back, but doesn't mention who it will be. So thoughts on who it might be?
I was trying to think tonight. I don't know too many female free agents out there.
I don't either. I was sitting there. I mean, it won't be Thunder Rosa, obviously.
No, I mean Chelsea Green and Britt are tight, but Chelsea's doing work in ROH and Impact both. I mean, I guess she could do 3 companies. It's got to be somebody that's got to make a splash, but I don't know who's out there.
Yeah, see, my thought kind of went to Chelsea with the fact that she said, the shades of jealousy, and Chelsea did something very similar to that in her podcast. So maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and it could be that too because she did she was calling her podcast 50 Shades of Green, and didn't have to change it, but now it's Green with Envy, which is still jealousy, envy. Yeah, you could be onto something there. I don't know. I don't know who else it could be. I'm sure they'll surprise me with somebody that's not even on my radar right now. I do know there have been some talents released from WWE and NXT not too long ago.
Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
That one would make sense. That one just dawned on me, though.
Yeah, I still think it makes sense for her to debut at All Out as the Joker because they're going to do the women's battle royale.
Yeah. As long as
yeah,
Lana's not the Joker, I'm okay with it. And it's nothing against or CJ Perry, I should say.
that's could be good. Yeah, because all their 90 days will be up in late August. So
Yep.
we'll see.
We'll see. Tony Schiavone is on the stage to talk about the upcoming event at the United Center in Chicago, AEW Rampage, The First Dance, August 20th.
August 20th, the second Rampage. Of course, right after they announced that, the crowd breaks into a CM Punk chant.
Oh, of course they did. You knew the moment they talked Chicago tonight, Punk chants were going to break out.
And then they went backstage with Alex Marvez with Darby and Sting, and Darby pretty much kind of took a shot, a message at CM Punk, and said,
even if you think you're the best in the world.
Yep, you got to prove in AEW. That's pretty much his message. So he's coming. He's coming, Paul. It's going to happen because they wouldn't be teasing it this much if they don't already have a pen on paper. Tony Khan's too smart.
Yes, because I think that kind of already they dropped the ball on this once with the original Exalted One. The original plans were for Marty Scurll to be the Exalted One.
Or those are rumored, at least.
Right. And then, he said, I'm not going to AEW. And then we dropped the ball on the Exalted One until Mr. Brody Lee was able to join us. So.
No, I just don't think I don't think they make. Let me put it this way. The United Center holds about 22,000 people in it. Now Arena, which they're holding all out, one of their big four events, holds about 12,000, which they sold out.
Right.
You don't run a show, even for your new 1 hour show, which I'm not calling it the B show, but it's not Dynamite. You don't run that there unless something big is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk,
you want 22,000 people to be there for.
Right. CM Punk teased with the Michael Jordan song for the Chicago Bulls not too long ago. Then the First Dance, which is a name played off of The Last Dance, the popular Netflix documentary about the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan's last season. But it almost all makes too much sense.
Yeah. I think if it's not CM Punk debuting in Chicago, then I will. Oh, yeah. And I will call this the biggest swerve in pro wrestling history.
I still think Punk's coming. And I do, and I'll go on record right now on July 28th, and I do think it will be that Rampage show now. I thought it'd be All Out, but now I do think it's the Rampage show. You do it then, you get the buys up for All Out in a few weeks. Maybe he has a match there. But what if it's the other talent that's been rumored, and it's Bryan Danielson?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, at least you went Bryan Danielson and not Daniel Bryan.
Because he's not going to be Daniel Bryan. That's the WWE name. So
exactly, because Vince looked at him and said, "Well, you made your name somewhere else. We got to change it. You can't have that name."
So I think it's going to be one of those two on Rampage, and I just don't feel like they run that arena without something.
Punk debut at Rampage, Danielson debut as the Joker.
Well, and you got to think too, Rampage, of course, it's going to come out every week after SmackDown.
Yeah.
But August 20th kind of kicks off SummerSlam weekend.
Yeah.
What better way to steal the
spotlight,
thunder and spotlight away from WWE than the debut of Punk? Because I got to be honest, tonight, even though the rest of the show still went on, everybody was talking about Punk potentially being at AEW on Rampage on August 20th. When CM Punk's involved, the guy steals headlines.
Oh, yeah. Whether it's MMA or he did a couple indie movies.
Yep.
It's Phillip Brooks, which was the only time he's ever gone by his legal name since becoming CM Punk.
And the more I've thought about this since we had the podcast last week, I'm really interested to see how it's going to work out with him and Cabana backstage. Because that's one thought, one reason I never thought he'd come to AEW, why Colt Cabana's on the roster. And from reports I've heard on Fightful and other websites, they didn't necessarily say the relationship's as bad as it was at one time, but they also said it's not water under the bridge either.
Right. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because, he references him in his big pipe bomb, and then, of course, things went downhill between the two of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were in a legal battle.
Yeah.
But maybe knowing Punk, and because he can be stubborn, he can be not a locker room nuisance, but he a lot of times doesn't get along with people in the locker room very well. Maybe he'll have his own trailer and they'll keep him far away from each other.
That could be. Put him in the EVPs or somewhere, where Cabana's not going to show up unless there's filming a BTE bit.
But I definitely think there's going to be something there potentially with Darby, because that's not a mistake. You don't have Darby just drop that line.
Right. Yeah, of all people.
Yeah.
If anybody else would have said that line, I would have thought it was a stab at Jericho. But for Darby to drop it, that's calling out Punk.
Well, and particularly right after they announced the United Center show. So
yeah.
No, but it's I think I maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think both guys are coming. It just matters when, not if, when.
When. Okay. We now get Lance Archer defending his IWGP US Championship against Hikuleo.
There you go.
See, I had to break it down, and if you caught it there, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, I actually had to close my eyes to recall the text that I sent, that I broke it out so that I got this right.
At least you had it in the notes this week. Last week, I get to the end and don't have it in the notes. Can't remember his name, so...
Well, I think we had to, since he was in a match this week.
Yeah.
He comes out with his dad, King Haku.
Yep. One of the toughest wrestlers of all time.
Yes, which with him having King Haku with him, I was like, okay, are they really going to do this to Archer again? Is he going to win the title and then drop it a week later?
I got to be honest, I was a little disappointed in this, because even though King Haku was with him, the Bullet Club never travels alone. I thought we would see a different member of the Bullet Club make an appearance during this match, and we didn't see it.
Yeah, I was waiting on something. Bullet Club at some point tonight, whether it be against the Elite, whether it be in this match, at some point we had to see something Bullet Club, and we didn't. I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, a good match. I mean,
yeah,
he's a young talent over there in Japan. JR even mentioned that he thinks he'll take Japan by storm and dominate eventually. But Archer gets the win in the end. The crowd was popping big for Archer tonight. The Archer looked good. So
it was a pinfall. It was clean. Looked good.
Future match between Archer and Tanahashi. So it's going to be exciting.
Yes. Yeah. So backstage in production, Marvez is talking with Cody Rhodes. Always Marvez. I thought we had more than Marvez for backstage.
They used to. And it's just Alex's thing now.
Yeah, I think the pandemic played a part in that, because Alex was there every week. It was easy for him to get there.
Well, you got to kind of remember, Marvez was supposed to be on commentary, and the Tony Schiavone thing happened, and he kind of got booted off commentary. So I still think there's some kind of Tony Khan feeling bad about that. So Marvez gets a big spot.
Right. But he's talking backstage with Cody Rhodes about his upcoming match against Malachi Black. Rhodes goes to say something and eats a big boot to the face. The two end up battling out to the stage. Rhodes blasts Black, but then eats a knee to the face. Welcome to the House of Black. People come out to help Cody. Fuego del Sol gets in Black's face and eats a roundhouse kick to the face.
Get the freaking head off.
I think you were excited for that. You're not as big of a Fuego fan as I am.
Oh, I loved it. I just hoping his kid pop right off.
Now, if it would have been Marco, you would have been even more excited. But you know,
if he would have kicked Marco would have went five rows into the stands. But no, those guys are great on the Sammy's vlog. But Fuego he's over right now with the crowd. I'll give him that. But man, this crowd was hot for Malachi, and they were booing Cody when they were going back and forth. And wouldn't surprise me, Paul, if we see that next week in Daly's place.
I know. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I mean, I think writing's on the wall. I think there's no way Malachi's going to lose this match. I think Cody's going to take some time off TV for a little bit.
Yep, and Malachi Black's going to be the one that takes him out.
But how crazy would it be if, I mean, we're kind of both predicting that Cody won't be on All Out. That'll be 2 years in a row. He won't be on All Out.
Yeah, unless because I mean, let's not forget last year when he took time off to film the Go Big show. It was 6 weeks.
Yeah, it'll probably be the same this year, but All Out's within 6 weeks.
He might make it back just in the nick of time to do something. Hopefully it isn't too, something that makes absolutely no sense why he's in it. If he is in something at All Out, don't go put him in a title match or whatever.
Right.
Speaking of title matches, we get a backstage segment next from Miro, and he says he won the TNT title and he had open challenges, but over time his challengers have dried up. He says Lee Johnson is a talented wrestler, but he nor anyone else is going to take his title. Miro says Lee can face him or run away, but either way, he'll face his reckoning next week.
Yeah, Lee's getting squashed.
Oh, absolutely.
I think next week we'll really start seeing the build towards All Out. We'll be a month away. Yeah. And we're starting to get some seeds planted for feuds, but I think we really see it take off next week because I have no idea who could be in contention for Miro's title right now.
I really don't.
I haven't looked at the rankings lately, but just without looking at the rankings, I don't know too many contenders off the top of my head.
Cage is number 3. Christian Cage, that is.
Yeah, he hasn't lost yet.
So maybe get a couple more wins under his belt. He'll make it to number 2. Maybe he challenges for it. And that's how we get Christian Cage on All Out.
I can see that.
Commentary is handed a note, and it's from QT Marshall, which they called him by his proper name this week, I noticed. It says that he wants to apologize to Tony Schiavone for dumping coffee on him during an interview, but says that he wants to do it next week. Marshall says he wants to make sure Tony's family is in attendance.
I don't care about this angle at all.
No, I don't understand it.
I don't care about the factory.
No,
they just blew it. I thought it was really cool when they debuted and they turned on Cody, but after that, I just could care less. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they dropped the ball way too quick on the factory, and I was very disappointed.
And QT's a talented guy in the ring, but I don't care for him on TV.
Up next, it was the Matt Hardy Family Office, Angelico and Private Party versus Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus.
And I gotta be honest, this is one where Twitter got the better of me. I just remember the finish. And Jungle Boy's entrance, which the crowd popped for big time.
Yeah, and I don't think they were too happy that they cut it off in the midst of the chorus to play Christians.
Right. I did laugh at JR's comment that Marco had too much Mountain Dew.
Marco always has too much Mountain Dew.
Yep, JR, you nailed that one.
Yes. Lots and back and forth action. Each team seems to get the better of the other team temporarily. Luchasaurus tags in, goes to work on all 3 opponents. Lucha ends up getting all 3 guys in a released German suplex, which didn't go over as well as I think they were hoping. 2/3 of the guys just kind of fell to the side. And Angelico was really the only one who got the full released German suplex.
And when it comes to the Jurassic Express, I hope from a year from now they're not a faction anymore.
Yeah, I would be okay kicking off 2022 with them breaking up.
I mean, I've been saying for a while I want to see Luchasaurus heel eventually and change his look a little bit, and Jungle Boy's got to be a star, but maybe they have one short run with the tag titles somewhere. I don't know. Besides that, it's just kind of getting stale.
The problem is the crowd pops for Jungle Boy. They don't pop for Jurassic Express.
You're right, and kids love them. They're going to sell a lot of merchandise. And eventually, Jungle Boy, I mean, right now he's young. He's going to get to the point you can't really call him Jungle Boy anymore.
Right. And I think that's where it'll become
Jack Perry.
Jack Perry or Jungle Jack. Maybe. Yep. Christian hits a frog splash on Quen, gets a cover 1, 2, 3. Cage stays undefeated in AEW, and this is who needed to pick up the win and who needed to eat the pin.
Yeah, I keep telling you, I think we're going to get a Christian Jungle Boy feud. Maybe it's not all out, but I definitely think it's down the road. I just engraved in my mind a few weeks ago when Christian was on Luchasaurus' shoulders and Jungle Boy looked up and he didn't really like that. So
Yeah, which that kind of goes back to I'm not 100% sure he didn't tweak his knee or something during that match, and Luchasaurus, having worked with him in the previous company, wanted to pay some respect to him and help him kind of get out of the ring, but knew just picking him up wasn't going to work.
if so, then Jungle Boy just, I don't know, because that look on his face looked like it was planned for him to look like that. So
Yeah, maybe.
I think there were seeds planted there. I don't think that was on accident, but hard telling sometimes. Yeah, in the Hardy family office just doesn't do much for me. Private Party, man. I know we've talked about this a lot. They've fallen so much since the start of Dynamite in 2019.
Yes, they're the tag team version of Lance Archer, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, they've been here, they've been there, they've been here, they've been there, they've done this, they've done that, and then it's just like, oh, here we're just going to push you to the back of the line again, and we'll do something with you eventually.
And then after the match, we saw Blade jumped over to the barricade and hit Christian with the brass knuckles, which is his new thing now, hitting guys with brass knuckles. At first, for a split second, I thought it was CM Punk. Because how the facial hair and the hood, the black hoodie. But
yep, when he jumped, I was like, oh, tonight? And then he pulled it off, and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, well, I would have been like, what a waste.
Right. I think it would have, if it was him and that was how they were going to do it, it would have been something a lot bigger than just a punch to the face with some brass knucks and walk away quickly.
Oh, yeah, his debut, the Cold personality's got a hit. And which I should mention, they started following AEW this past week on Twitter and Instagram.
I saw that. Living in Color now follows all AEW social media.
That's not my mistake.
No, not at all. Next, we get a Nick Gage promo telling Chris Jericho he's going to be feeling pain for the rest of his life after their match. We see some clips of Gage's other brutal matches. And
yeah, I mean, he is the best death match wrestler in the world, but I have to apologize from last week, my statement. I said, no way Matt Cardona walks out of Atlantic City at GCW Homecoming with the title, and he did it. He had help. He did have help, but he did it, and that crowd was hot against him, and GCW Homecoming was trending with the over to the Olympics and UFC on Saturday night. Unbelievable for that company. Kudos to them. It's one of the hottest stories in the wrestling world right now. Matt Cardona and Nick Gage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I wonder how much extra he had to pay. Matt Cardona kind of accidentally bled all over the hospital or the hotel room sheets.
That was nasty.
So I'm sure they had to pay some extra for that room.
Like we'll talk in the main event, that death match stuff, it's not my style, but there's definitely an audience out there for it. It's pretty popular, but it's not my style. But I was familiar with Nick Gage from watching The Dark Side of the Ring, and I love watching that series. The dude's a lunatic.
Yeah.
There's no way. He loves wrestling, but he's a lunatic. And I was interested to see how the main event against Jericho was going to go tonight.
Yeah. And before we get to the main event, we had Julia Hart with the Varsity Blondes taking on Thunder Rosa, making her official debut as an all-elite wrestler. She's had numerous matches in the past in AEW, but she has not been with the company until tonight.
We knew it was coming. We knew it was a matter of when, not if. Great to see her finally signed. Huge addition to the roster. Huge loss for NWA. I've said for a while, I think that company's on fumes. Besides Nick Aldis holding the title for like 900 days or over 1,000 days, whatever it's been. I think it's over 1,000 days now.
Yeah.
And Billy Corgan's doing all he can, but I just think that company's grasping.
Right, absolutely. So this match went exactly as you would expect it to. Thunder Rosa picks up the pinfall. Hart got a little bit of offense, just enough to make you like her a little more. But overall, Thunder Rosa picks up the pinfall, and I'm glad she is officially all elite.
No, I think Julia Hart's going to be good eventually.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
she's very green. She takes a lot of losses right now, but the Blondes as a faction take a lot of losses. But I think everybody thinks they have a bright future. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. But yeah, Thunder Rosa. I want to see a rubber match between her and Britt. I want to see.
Yes.
I want to see it for the third time.
Yep, I'm ready for it. It's going to be good. I can't wait to see it happen. We get a look at what's going to happen next week at AEW Dynamite Homecoming at Daly's Place. We'll
You're back in
see.
Daly's place, but it sounds like this is the last. Well,
Hopefully,
it should be, unless the pandemic really starts spreading again. That is always their safe
Hopefully.
place, but it should be the last time they're at Daly's for quite some time.
Yes. We'll see Miro defend the AEW Championship or AEW TNT Championship, against Lee Johnson. Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes.
That's got to be the main event, right?
I would hope so.
The way they built it, yeah.
Yeah. The Bunny versus Layla Hirsch. Winner gets a shot at the NWA Women's World Championship. And Christian Cage with Jungle Boy versus Bladen Hardy.
AEW Women's Championship.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not NWA.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize. My notes say NWA.
Serena Deeb doesn't have it anymore. It's back in NWA.
Yeah, it's officially NWA now. So
yep.
I apologize.
No,
for
you're
that.
good. You're good.
Good
I just wanted to
catch.
correct you. Yep.
Yes, thank you. After that, we head backstage. The way they set up this promo was not what we got. They were talking about, Gage and Jericho, and then they said we're going to throw it back to Jon Moxley, who has history with both of these gentlemen.
Yes.
And so I thought we were going to get Moxley talking about Gage and Jericho. Instead, he cuts a promo on Tanahashi. Thank you.
Yep.
So, and it was a great promo.
I thought for a while, that's why I thought Mox would keep the IWGP US title. I thought he'd defend it on All Out against a New Japan talent.
Right.
I still think we're going in that direction with Moxley against somebody from New Japan at All Out. Don't necessarily know if it's going to be Tanahashi, though, because he said he sent in that whole stack of contracts or agreements. So he made it sound like, it's definitely going to be a New Japan talent that's going to probably face him down the road here. And I'm all for it. It's exciting to get this talent over here and working with them. But part of me thought maybe Moxley might interfere in the main event tonight because he and Gage have unfinished business. They never this Cardona thing with Gage happened when everybody thought it was going to be Moxley. They were setting something up for Moxley. They brawled in Las Vegas and then never really went anywhere. And Cardona kind of slipped in. I don't know if that was because of the baby being born or whatnot, but I will admit, before the main event, I thought Cardona was going to show up and cost Gage the title, or not the title, the match tonight.
Right. I would have loved to see Cardona make another appearance in AEW. Sadly, they couldn't work anything out, and I was hoping he would become All Elite, but he's doing great now.
It was one of those things where he wanted to do everything he can, like all over the place, and I honestly think Cody Rhodes is good buddies with Cardona. He got him in for about 5-match tryout. For whatever reason, I just don't think Tony Khan was that impressed.
Right. And I also kind of feel that Cardona was like, if I sign with AEW, I'm Cody Rhodes' friend.
Right.
So,
right. And he's already committing to one company. Even though he's mainly Impact right now, and now he's the GCW champion, he's still independently free to go wherever and wrestle he wants. And he likes that. So.
Yeah, and I think he was afraid that he wanted gold, and I think to get gold in AEW, he was going to get the backlash of, oh, you only got it because your best friend's the EVP. So I think he made the right decision. As much as I wanted him to be in All Elite, I'm glad he did not sign.
I would have never guessed he was going to get gold on GCW out of all places. He just seems like the ultimate WWE guy, and that's why the GCW crowd hates him so much. But damn, they better respect him after the other night. He put his body through hell and back.
Yes, he did. So we get into the main event. Painmaker Chris Jericho versus Nick effing Gage.
No DQ, no
No
rules.
DQ. As close to a death match as they could get without making it a death match.
Yeah, this was the AEW style of a death match, a little more violent than last week's Texas death match or Texas, rules matter, whatever it's called, with Lance Archer and John Moxley. We knew it was going to be bloody, and they took it to the limits as far as what you can do on TNT. I mean, if you watch an actual GCW event where it's on pay-per-view, it gets really violent. I mean, scary at times. But even this tonight, and I got to admit, like I said earlier in the podcast, deathmatch style is not really for me.
No.
Even though they took it to the limits of what they could do on TNT, it still made me a little squeamish and nervous at times.
Yeah, there were times, of course, there was, I've gotten used to Jericho and some of these things. So Jericho gets thrown into the ring post, and then we're focusing on Nick Gage. And I said, oh, I know what he's doing right now. He's going to be bloodied when they show him next. And sure enough, he was.
Well, just like at the very start with the pizza cutter, he didn't get him.
No.
They panned Nick Gage, and if you look closely, Jericho's pulling something out of his pocket.
Yep.
He's blading himself right there on the arm. But still, even the camera guys did great work tonight with camera angles. But
absolutely.
Still, even if it's not 100% real with the pizza cutter head makes me just squirm. And at least he didn't do the mouth. That's the one that really makes me.
Yeah. And I already hate fluorescent light tubes.
Yeah.
So those come out and I'm like, no.
I was surprised that Jericho took one over the head.
Yeah, I was too. And to get stabbed in the head, so to speak. I was surprised of Jericho for that one as well.
I knew Gage was going to go through the glass pane. I knew Jericho was going through that.
His foot caught it though, so they're lucky it didn't break because that glass shifted right before Gage went through it.
Yeah, and it was definitely different glass than GCW uses.
Right.
So I think everything was about as safe as you can make it, but still, I mean, you got glass, you got light tubes. Stuff can happen.
Too many light tubes. I want to see. I know she was wearing gloves, but I want to see Ref Aubrey's hands after making multiple counts in piles of glass. I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's always surprising whenever there's thumbtacks or glass or whatever it may be when refs, even when they have gloves on. You would think the instinct would be to hurry up, like brush off one pile, like a pile away right there where you can make 3 count, but in live time, you can't think about that.
Right. Now, I will say in those style of matches in another company, they do that.
Yeah.
You see the refs move things out of the way and then they get down and do the 3 count. Not in AEW. They just full force go straight down for that 1 count right off the bat, not even hesitating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love the refs in AEW so much.
Mm-hmm.
Jericho ends up hitting after all sorts of everything. Jericho hits the Judas effect, gets the 3 count. And picks up the victory, so he's won 2 out of 2 of his labors so far.
Yeah, he blinded Nick Gage with the black mist, and then hit the Judas effect.
That's what I was forgetting. Thank you.
Yep. Good old Tajiri trick there.
Yes, and afterwards, MJF gets on the mic and says they aren't done yet. He tells Jericho to listen to him. MJF says he has the 3rd stipulation. He has to hit a top rope maneuver to win. And he says, one thing about me is I hold a grudge. We see a clip from 2019 before they ever feuded with each other, back when they were still picking on Cody for being Cody, about, Jericho says his mom and dad were watching him beat the crap out of Juice, and 9 months later he was born.
Who the hell's Hoovy?
Yeah.
MJF says.
Yeah, and he Google it, baby. Bad news for you. I Googled it. Making his return to TNT after 15 years. Hoovinated Guerrero.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Juice, long rival of Chris Jericho's in their WCW days, one of the greatest luchadors and cruiserweights of all time. I did not know that he was still actively wrestling until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I heard on a podcast, Sean Ross Sapp said that Juventud had just competed over the weekend. So I'm like, wow, he's still going at the age of whatever he is. So Yeah, that will be neat to see. I am excited for that, but it wasn't what I was expecting tonight with the main event. Thought it was a little underwhelming with the clean finish and no interference from Moxley or Cardona, or no real big surprise. I mean, the Juventud announcement's cool and everything for the nostalgia for the TNT, but that's a level down from Nick Gage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you could have done so many different things. You could have made him take on Wardlow in some type of match.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We saw Wardlow at the beginning of when FTR came out. Besides that, we haven't seen him on Dynamite for a long time. And
No,
when the Pinnacle debuted that night, they had Wardlow put Jericho through a table. I'm like, they're gonna push this guy to the moon, and they really haven't. I mean,
no.
he lost that Hager.
Yeah, and since then, that's really, we haven't seen him since.
No. So maybe he'll be the fourth labor.
Right. I hope so. Fourth, fifth, something.
Put him in a cage match again or something.
Yeah, give him something that he's good at.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I hope so, but we'll see.
Yep. Yep.
And that was Dynamite. So Tanner, your grade.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth on grades. I'm going with a 7 this week. I gave last week's an 8. Solid show. I don't have too much to pick on, but like I said, sometimes during the match, I got on my cell phone instead of the match, so the match didn't have my full attention. And if it was a really good match, it would have had my full attention. It would have had me on the edge of my couch. But no, good show. It's planted seeds for a lot of feuds. We're getting there towards All Out. That's all I can wait for now. And now, actually, I'm real excited for Rampage on the 20th, then All Out, and then the Grand Slam event, Arthur Ashe Stadium. Like I said, I just hope all these events are able to happen with full capacity. I mean, I'm getting a little nervous about that at this point, with numbers rising, and if they have them, people might have to wear masks. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm going with the 7.
I'm right there with you. I'm giving it a solid 7. It was a good show. A lot of seats planted, like you said. You basically, I completely agree with you on everything you had to say. So I'm just going a solid 7 with you.
Wrestler of the night.
I'm going Archer for a successful defense.
I like that.
We haven't seen Archer on TV very much here lately. So to get him 2 weeks in a row, winning the title, successfully defending it, I got to give it to him.
I'm going with the easy pick this week, and I think it's the same guy I picked last week, and that's Chris Jericho. I mean, he took a beating tonight. He was a bloodied mess. He was even shaking after that light tube to the head. I mean, that's what I enjoy about Jericho. He's 51 years old, and he wanted to go through it all tonight.
Yeah, there was
some of those spots if he didn't want to, and he wanted to do it.
Right. So, he wanted to be as legit as he could be.
100%. He gives it 100% every time he's in the ring. But I really think, Paul, I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I think they're going to have Jericho beat MJF.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't.
No.
What should happen is MJF should beat him, and Jericho honestly should kind of not go off in the sunset, but be the commentator on Rampage, like he's rumored to be with Mark Henry, and be kind of the star attraction that wrestles a couple matches a year. And just because I know he reinvents himself better than anybody in professional wrestling, but I feel like he's going to get stale soon.
Yeah, it's going to come. I think that's why, bringing the Painmaker tonight was a nice little splash of, look, I can still do this. But I agree. I don't think he needs to beat MJF. I think he needs to just kind of go more to the sidelines.
But just the way it's building, just in how the story's progression, just it feels like, and they could swerve us all. It just feels like Jericho's going to beat him.
Yeah, I hope not, but we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Final thoughts?
No, I mean, first thing in my mind is still CM Punk. I mean, it's I don't know how you can't be thinking CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, even with that news last week. I mean, more and more reports are coming out and different things, and I think they asked Sean Ross Sapp today on the Listen Your Boy, and they asked him on a scale 1 to 10 how confident he was in each one, and because they have not confirmed, Fightful has not confirmed that either of them have signed, but he said he was 9 out of 10 confident on Bryan Danielson, 7 out of 10 on Punk. That's still pretty good.
Yeah, those are some good odds. I'll take either one of those, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to when. I'll get on your little boat there, and I'll go when, not if.
Yeah, I think. I don't think it's a secret that they had all out planned pretty much in full capacity 2 months ago, and these recent, I'm going to call them rumors as now, but let's say acquisitions made them pivot plans a little bit. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, I think we start seeing that build hopefully starting next week.
Yep. I'm here for it. It's going to be an exciting run. It's just a great time to be a pro wrestling fan. That's what I was talking with Dave Hancock the other night of adfreeshows.com on the podcast. Go listen to that. It's on wherever you've listened to the Kicking Out podcast on, or you can watch it on our YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, and subscribe to those. Give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already, and you can follow us on Twitter also at Kicking Out Pod. And go get yourself some Kicking Out Pod merch like Paul's sporting tonight, KOP t-shirt. We have 3 different designs. We have a black one, a white one, and a gray one. Those are available on ProWrestlingTees.com. Just search Kicking Out Podcast, and you'll be able to support our show and look great doing so. We'd really appreciate it. But I don't have any other final thoughts. Paul, I'll let you add your final thoughts and wrap us up for another week.
I'm looking forward to Homecoming. Hopefully the card gets better over the next 6 days. We'll look forward to Homecoming. Looking forward to the build for All Out. I know you mentioned follow Kicking Out Podcast on Twitter as well as all the streaming platforms. Don't forget to like Tanner on Twitter or on social media at TannerLee92. Myself at Paul Zartman 921. No reason specific that we're 92 and 92-1, but we won't get into that tonight.
No. It's kind of coincidence.
Yes. And for that, for Tanner Lee, I'm Paul Zartman. Join us again next week as we kick out yet another podcast.